I don't relate success to money. I relate success to helping people. And that slapped me so hard as to, wow, time is very precious. And that led to my company motto for the last 23 plus years, that time is our most precious commodity. So when you think of that and you think how you just never know when that last breath could happen.
You said you were known for being a problem solver and therefore people coming to you and a problem fixer, and you had that ability to do that. What was the inflection point for you that enabled you to move out of that? It's very difficult when that's what you're valued for, that's what you're seeing people really good at, to lift yourself out, to be that more strategic step back to try and prevent the problems in the first place. Talk to me about that.
You can get out of that. As long as you have your health and your brain is working within some sort of rational behavior, you can look at your life and you can analyze it and you can just take accountability. My mental health and wellness is the biggest barrier for me to have physical health and wellness.
Hello and welcome to Confessions of a Successful Leader, hosted by me, Andrew Tallents, the self-coaching expert. In each episode of the show, we hear the insightful confessions of a successful leader who wants to inspire others to live their professional and personal dreams. I am always keen to hear your feedback, particularly in relation to the kinds of leaders you would like me to invite onto the show in future. But for now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the rich insights from our special guest.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Confessions of a Successful Leader with me, Andrew Tallents, the self-coaching expert. I'm delighted that Brian Esposito has joined me in the studio today. Brian, welcome.
Oh, Andrew, pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Great. I'm looking forward to hearing your story today. But before we do that, please introduce yourself to the audience and what your current focus is.
Yeah. I'll try to sum it up as quick as I can. So 23 plus years as an entrepreneur, building, starting, acquiring, merging with companies. Current day, there's two chapters of my life. There's my private holdings, which is known as Esposito Intellectual Enterprises. Again, that's my life's work of being part of so many companies. Within that holdings, now there's over 110 companies in that ecosystem. There's a reach of over 200 joint ventures around the world and proudly operating in over 25 different industries. So it's my life's work of really building and growing and properly supporting businesses from all different levels of where they're at in their business cycle. And then last August, I was honored to take over as CEO of a public company known as Diamond Lake Minerals. The ticker is DLMI. And we've created quite a unique public company model that's bridging the gap with traditional finance and then with my work and experience in things like security tokens. So you hear a lot about that now with BlackRock out in the world with their Bitcoin ETF. There's so many terms out there like crypto, tokens, meme tokens, NFTs, digital assets. My experience in lane has always been in security tokens, which are regulated digital assets. And I don't play in that gray area, whether they're securities or not. And what we're doing there at that company and what we're building and the amazing supportive advisors that we have is pretty remarkable.
Super. Well, thanks for that introduction. And you've done what most of my guests do, which is tell me about you professionally, and that I get all that. What about personally? What about you when you're with your friends and your family?
Yeah, well, work is my love, work is my hobby, so I'm still working on that balance. But my core is always wanting to help people. I always love becoming a resource for people that are kind of lost and need a little support, a little guidance. I think one of the reasons why when we met is I'm very outspoken on my vulnerability of my path personally as well as my career. And I think that's a place of strength when people can do that. And then you can connect and relate with what I believe are the masses of the world that are really struggling, whether with their mental health and wellness, trying to get some confidence regarding their professional career or their earnings and, where they are in their life. And I like to let people know that they're not alone, even though I may not physically be near you or we've never maybe met in person. But when people that put themselves out there like I have over the last decade, as far as telling people my journey, the most rewarding thing is not always the business's success. It's somebody reaching out to me and saying, thanks. I'm so glad I saw that video of you talking. It really helped me get through my day. It really gave me a little oomph, a little positivity or inspiration. So those are the things I'm really passionate about and just continuously telling all the crap that I go through daily. It doesn't get better as you become more and more successful. We'll put that in quotes because I don't relate success to money. I relate success to helping people and going through life and trying not to hurt people. But when people can maybe look at you through a lens that they perceive that you're at based upon what they would think about your businesses or what you've built or your career, it's nice to know that you're approachable, and I like to always be approachable for people, and I like people to just think of me as, you know, one of the boys that they can have a beer with. So that's been my, you know, I guess my image that I'm trying to put out in the world, that I'm here, I'm with you guys, and if you ever need anything, just reach out to me.
Great. I'm looking forward to hearing more about your journey. Well, what I'd like to come back to, and just remember this for later on when we talk about it, is in my experience, somebody in your position who is there and offering that level of support to people that come and seek it. It's a very fine balance between how much energy you put into that and also putting your own oxygen mask on first in terms of your own personal well-being. So I want to park that for now, but I want a theme to come through that in terms of how you manage that, as well as all the energy you give to others. So remind me to do that later on. If that's okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's start with your childhood. I'm really interested in those early beginnings. What was it about your childhood that enabled you to be successful as a leader early on? Let's start there.
Yeah, I can never not think of me working, whether it was doing chores around the house, mowing the lawn. And I remember specifically being 7, 8 years old, and my dad had a beauty company, and one of them was a nail care company. So I remember being in a warehouse with a little glass nail polish bottle, filling it with a squeegee applicator to put the nail hardening treatment into the bottle, then putting the brush in the bottle, then screwing the cap on it, then making a little cardboard box for the packaging for the bottle to sit in, and then putting 6 of those in a little master pack, and then putting 24 master packs in a giant box, and then taping that up and shipping that out. So I can remember doing that at 8 years old with the rest of the people in that warehouse, and you just get a sense of pride, right? I think that's when people are bred to work like I am. There's no level of the dollar amount isn't really the focus. It's accomplishing something. So I've always loved that feeling, and I love doing it with a team, and I love what you can do together with a group of really smart people. And then I started to watch, well, it's not just the components that are here, it's what was done prior to get the bottles ordered, and then the screen printed onto the bottles, or the labels that had to get ordered to get put onto the boxes. So there's so many pieces to getting a product to market, and I was just kind of obsessed with that at a young age. And then from there, I just saw the world differently. I always looked at the world with opportunities, and where can I add value? That's really my entire being, is where can I add value and who can I add value with? And from there, I obsessed with baseball. I trained to be hopes to be a professional baseball player. So I just worked my ass off 24/7 in that sport. And one of my biggest regrets is quitting that and focusing on my entrepreneurial career. However, the concepts around baseball, the hard work, the training, putting the right people in the right positions, the right management, the right support systems, I actually utilize that entire part of my life in all of the companies I work with, or all the projects that I get to work on. I always think of my baseball training and applying those principles to the business world.
Sure. And in those, first 25 years or so of your life, what was the biggest challenge that you had during that time?
There was a lot. I think because I always put myself out there and seeing the world much differently. Well, let's back up to the biggest challenge was my grandfather passing away. It would be my dad's father when I was 8 years old. So he was my best friend in the world. I'd run home from school and I wanted to hang out with him. I didn't want to go play on the playground with kids my age. I wanted to spend time with him. So when he passed away, and me not understanding that, right, being so young, you don't really understand life and death. And I don't even think I got to witness a goldfish die prior. It was like that was the first major hit. And that slapped me so hard as to, wow, time is very precious. And that led to my company motto for the last 23 plus years, that time is our most precious commodity. So when you think of that, and you think how you just never know when that last breath could happen, and whether you're sick or not, you just don't know. So from that, I really had such an awareness around making my mark on the world, whatever that meant. I really wanted to have an impact with what I was given, because I was thinking, Jesus, any time my parents can pass away, I can leave my siblings, my best friends. So I was like kind of OCD about that in a not healthy way. But then I funneled that into, well, I'm going to do something good for however long that I'm here. So I'm going to focus on that. So that was a monster challenge. And then I started a beauty company as a late teenager. First, I built the first B2B, B2C e-commerce platform for the beauty industry. which was amazing, right? Great timing, taught myself to code. I launched so many products. However, I was an originator in that space. So I was disrupting all the distribution sales channels that were legacy channels that have been in place. So even though the brands loved what I was doing because I was moving a lot of product, I was getting lawsuits left and right. And I'm a teenager. Like, I didn't understand why. I'm doing everything right. I signed a brand under my company. I distributed the brand to salons and spas. I sold the brand within our retail stores, and then I sold the brand online. But because online, nobody knew what that was yet in that industry, I was getting hit left and right. That was even a Supreme Court case with one of the brands that I was legally distributing against me for selling a bottle of hair oil. It's just crazy. So with my grandfather passing away and like just all the stuff that I've been through, and there's so many to list, I always also just was under the impression things are going to be a little bit more difficult for me than most. And I accepted that. And honestly, if things are calm, I'm more nervous than if things are not calm, because like I just don't know what that life's like. There's always some kind of turmoil, but I don't sit in the corner and cry about it. I focus on where's the solution, find a solution, fix whatever's happening, and just keep building. So bulk of my career has been fixing problems. And that's why I built such a great network of amazing people, because my name got out there to, hey, if you got an issue, call Brian. He really thinks things through differently and maybe can help you. And I used to joke, if you were calling me, then you're really out of all types of solutions if you're ringing me up. Then I realized there's a lot of value there. So then I started thinking about, well, that's great. I have that tool set that I can strategize on. Again, there's always a solution. So that was a big bulk of my life. And now what I really am more obsessed with is preventing the problems from happening in the first place. And the only way that you can do that is to go through so many things and understand why that happened, or who you invited into your life that caused that to happen, and all these other different variables. So yeah, that's been my career. It's been riddled with a lot of grief, a lot of problems, like most people. My pops got diagnosed with a form of ALS 2010-ish. He passed away about a year ago. So you throw that into the plate. My mom had to deal with bladder cancer. So it's just, there's people that have it better, people that have it worse, but you can't look at that. You have to look at the deck that you were dealt, and how are you going to give yourself enough strength without creating a bunch of vices to numb the pain? How do you look at what you're being handed, and how do you become stronger from that? And as hard as it is, find ways to be grateful that you maybe were giving these turbulent times, because you can overcome them, and that you can maybe be a voice to help other people overcome whatever they're going through.
Yeah. And what about for you? Which was the particular vice that you had to overcome the most? In terms of what I found with a lot of leaders and entrepreneurs is, they're completely involved in what they do, but there's something at the side there that keeps them going. If you like, what was it for you?
I think my biggest vice is stupidity. To be honest with you, I have this stupidity about me that I think everybody's inherently good. So when you think that, you continue to replicate inviting an issue into your life. But I kind of reference, you're going to open a window in a house. A beautiful little bluebird can come and sit on the window and sing you a great song, or a swarm of hornets can come in. But you got to open the window to experience either of those things. So I never wanted to be closed off to the world, because I've seen that. There's enough history to know if you get angry about humanity, you get bitter, your energy is awful, nobody wants to be around you. So how do you have a good, healthy life if you go down that path? And then we need money to survive and pay our bills and eat. And so how do you do that and also invite opportunities to create value? So I just knew you couldn't do that. And no matter how hard it got, I just kept pushing through on, I'm going to be stupid and going to be a light, and I'm going to find my way through this mess that I've created, because it's all my actions and all my work that is the result of where I'm at. It's nobody else's fault. So I also never blamed anybody, but how do I keep doing what I'm doing, but elevate to be around maybe a better radar, to just be around a better group of people that are wired like me? So from my experiences and path, now I look for immediately people with empathy, integrity, morals, and values. I need to see that. I need to see you being kind to a waiter or waitress and giving them a nice tip, even if the food was awful. Like that, just treat people with respect. If you don't do anything like that, and you don't constantly think that we're all equal, then I'm not working with you. So I'm blessed now in my life that I have this freedom to say no to people, because I don't care if we can make $1 billion together. If we're not aligned on my principles, then, goodbye. I'll pray for you, but we're not doing anything together. So it's taken me way too long to be at that. But I think a lot of it had to do with, even though I felt these things as a teenager in my 20s and 30s, now at 43 with a little bit of a track record, me having a little bit more clarity about life, I have a voice now. So when I'm saying things, there's a little bit more power behind it than when I was saying the same things at 20, but with no credibility in this lifetime. So things are starting to catch up in a line where I'm able to do what I want with how I feel, but also try to always do it in a way where I'm at least respectful to everybody, even if I don't agree with, the way that they're living their lives or their morals or values.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think you're talking there about, you can say the same thing, but it's where it comes from. And, when it comes from the heart, that unconditional type of message, then it really comes across very differently.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's go back. Point you mentioned before, and again, I found this in a lot of leaders I've worked with in the past. You said you were known for being a problem solver, and therefore people coming to you and the problem fixer, and you had that ability to do that. What was the inflection point for you that enabled you to move out of that? It's very difficult when that's what you're valued for, that's what you're seeing people really good at, to lift yourself out, to be that more strategic step back to try and prevent the problems in the first place. Talk to me about that.
It really was just evolution of valuing myself. So the problem solver turned from I'm good at that to a business, for lack of a better word, in 2016, maybe 2017. I was hit head on by a drunk driver in Nashville in February of 2016. My whole world fell apart. All the companies that I was involved with at that part, because I was the glue, I'm the deal maker, I'm the one leveraging assets, I'm the one doing everything. When I was not capable of doing my 24/7 routine, everything just crumbled. So I had to re-strategize on, oh my goodness, I'm now millions of dollars in debt. These great companies are just, they're in purgatory. I never filed bankruptcy, which I thought was amazing, because that's a really easy card for U.S. citizens to do. I never wanted two things. I never wanted that mark attached to me. And I also said, I'm going to pay everybody back. So why would I even file and screw people? Like, even if I filed, I'm going to pay you back. So help me figure out how to work through this. During that period, very disappointed with all the executives around me, all the legal and accounting and people, professional services that I've paid millions to. My best friends when the bill's being paid, but the minute that things turn upside down, we can't help you. Like, very disheartening. Same thing with executives that I co-signed for houses for and helped them get cars. And, I referenced myself during that time as a cow loaded with milk. And then when they realized that the milk was gone, they just disappeared. They wanted nothing to do with me anymore. And then I realized with a lot of my colleagues and partners, like, I've never asked for help before in my career. So it's an awkward position for me. And I didn't know how to do that. And I also knew perception and marketing. Like, I'm very good at that. Nobody wants to go down with a sinking ship. So I also realized I have to still look capable. And I also I was dealing with awful post concussion issues. It was very, very difficult time for me. So I said, okay, well, I know how to price products. I know how to price IP, music, services. I never knew how to price a person. So to answer your question very longly, I'm like, okay, well, I know what my skill sets are. So how can I be of value to executives and companies with what I am capable of doing for myself over the last, at that point, which would have been, I guess it was 17 years I did for myself. How can I take that and price it and help other companies? So that was the problem solver strategy, putting partnerships together and just being a connector, which is what I'm naturally good at. And that took a long time to figure out that model. Like, what's the right price? I don't know how to say anything for me. I used to go to companies, tell me what I'm worth. Right now, I need to go out and earn. I need to start working backwards and cleaning up this mess that I'm at. And then from there, it's like, okay, I've got a little bit of a swing of things going, and companies started telling other companies, hey, you got to bring Brian on your team. Look what he did for us. So it started this nice track record. Then it was okay, well, I've helped so many companies in the past by connecting people and opportunities, and they went off and built monster companies. They built $1 billion pieces of IP, but I think I coined the term business amnesia when it came to me, even though I brought everybody together. It was nothing. I was chasing crumbs. So when you're trying to fight back and bring capital in to pay debt and to be able to survive, and you're looking at all these amazing opportunities you created for people, but they forgot about it, or they're not even acknowledging it, or they just ignore you because they're very successful. Now I said, well, I can't keep doing that. So then it was connecting people, providing my service, but being part of the upside. So then I was finding ways to earn equity into these deals. And this just kept evolving into where I am today. So going back to your previous question is, how do I look at all that? So grateful that woman hit me, because she could have killed somebody. So I'll take that hit 10 out of 10 times because I'm still here. And my model was so wrong at that time that I needed it to be destroyed. I couldn't be repaired, patched up, fix this here. I needed it to just be completely destroyed, so I could rebuild much smarter and with a lot more wisdom as to who I am as a person, what value do I provide, and to not be angry or bitter or disappointed when I put all these people together and they run off and do great things. At least I'm part of all those things. So again, none of that would have happened if she didn't almost kill me.
And what's really interesting there is, come to mind, did you feel that was fate?
Well, we say that. I feel very divine intervention, because behind this woman, I was on a 4-lane highway, no divider in the middle, 2 lanes on each side. You're talking 65, 70 miles an hour when there's no traffic, no lights. So it's a parkway or freeway. But behind this woman for miles was this couple calling 911, reporting this driver's behavior, which was great. But more importantly, they were blocking traffic like a pace car at a NASCAR or Formula One behind this car. So when she hit me and I spun across her side and went flying off the road, if that car behind her wasn't doing that, my airbags already deployed. Another car had to be on the right side of her and would have just ripped right through me. So 100% believe in divine intervention and fate involved in that. And that even further emphasized my feelings since 1989, where time is our most precious commodity. Make the biggest impact of your life while you're here. And it even gave me a little more fuel to, I am going to be here for a reason, and I'm going to make some kind of an impact. And that moment took, even though I felt all that moment took it from 10 to 100.
Love that. Thank you. So the next question is, you had an event which enabled you to refocus in a different way to be able to formulate a different business model for you, which actually was going to move you forward. So what advice would you give to people out there that don't have that event, and yet they're recognizing this model's not working for me? Because you were in a position where you didn't find it easy to ask for help before that event happened, like a lot of entrepreneurs.
I think there has to be an event in your life for any change. It doesn't have to be so drastic, but that, those are the ones that really push it forward hard. But if you find yourself on a hamster wheel and you're in the same position, you have to first I always looked at my actions. I've always been accountable. Like, the reason why this is happening is because of me. It's not because of Bill that stole money from me or ran behind my back and did a deal with another person. It's because I allowed it to happen, and it was my actions or lack of actions or lack of confidence or being passive or trying to be kind, all the adjectives and descriptions. It's me. I feel like the entire population, once you can start taking accountability for where you are in your life, that's when change can happen. So you don't really need to have a drunk driver almost kill you. You don't need to be on an airplane that has the oxygen things come down. You feel like it's going to be your last moment. You just have to be in a moment where you feel stuck. You can get out of that. As long as you have your health and your brain is working with some sort of rational behavior, you can look at your life and you can analyze it, and you can just take accountability, make a list of like you're checking in inventory. If you ever worked in a retail store, you just, what am I doing that's working? What am I doing that's not working? And make a change from that. We have to constantly evolve as people. Like, I think that's our purpose for here. Just constantly, every day, learn a little bit something, find something that inspires you. You have to find something that you find joy in. So even if you're feeling stuck and you're in this moment of your career or your life that you just maybe hate, I would suggest don't even analyze it until you find something that you love, and do it for a few minutes that day. And you got to bring some light into your life and some joy and some passion. I'm definitely guilty at that, because there's so many passions that I've put on hold to continue to do what I feel like I need to do for work. But if I wouldn't look at anything, and I wouldn't internalize anything about you if you're feeling negative or bitter or angry, you have to get that out of you. I mean, go and scream in the shower, go take a boxing lesson and punch a bag, get it out of you. Find a little bit of joy, whatever it could possibly be, and then take accountability for, okay, I'm ready to make some changes. And it doesn't have to be drastic. Little something here, little something there. And then look back, and every day you get through, I bet you'll see some little milestones change. And you have to immediately stop comparing yourself to other people. And if we're just talking business, if I compared myself to Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates every day, I would feel like a complete failure. I'd feel miserable. So you got to stop that. It's not easy. It gets thrown in your face all the time. If you're on LinkedIn, you see billion-dollar deals getting done. You pick up the Wall Street Journal. If you're on social media, your neighbors boasting about their great life, but they're not boasting about their crappy life and the stuff that everybody goes through. They're just showing you the inflated version of not real happiness. So you got to just block so much stuff out and take stock in yourself and find out who do you think you really are, and where do you want to focus, and who needs to maybe take a time out from your life. Like, if there's anybody toxic in your life, whether it's family, spouse, kids, like, there's a moment in your life where you have to be selfish. And that, I don't mean that by hurting people. I mean selfish by being happy. What will make you happy today? Because you know what? Tomorrow is not a promise? It's not guaranteed for anybody. So right now, you need to feel some joy. And the world is crap. But the world was crap when humanity first started. Millions of people being sacrificed and killed. Like, we're always going to be crappy. So you need to focus on your little bubble, find some joy. And if you feel stuck or you feel like you're in a hamster wheel, you got to make some changes. And some little changes could actually be very effective and go a long way.
I'm going to come back to the point that I raised earlier, Brian. So you said, you're really, really focused on work. Obviously, you're about there to support other people, and you get a lot of energy from that. But how do you actually look after your own personal well-being right now? How do you put time aside for that?
Yeah, I'm not the spokesperson for that. Still working on that. But I'm conscious about my mental health first and foremost. Like, I try to never let that become a toxic environment. I mean, in my career, I've given myself shingles in my 20s. I woke up one morning, mid-late 20s, with Bell's palsy, where I thought I had a stroke. Recently, 2 years ago, I had to have my gallbladder removed. I know these are all self-induced medical things that my brain has given me, from worry, from stress, from aggravation. So I look back at all that, and I'm very proud of where I've come from, as far as how I used to internalize so much, how I used to be so upset with people, how I used to feel so disappointed in people. And that's cancerous inside you when you hold that. It's poison. And I've seen I know, I'm almost positive my dad crippled himself with that form of ALS because he really got upset with people, and he was generous to a fault, and he was hurt all the time. But if you're going to be generous, you should just be generous, right? And don't expect or feel entitled that you're going to get the same behavior back. And I've learned that probably a lot from watching him and my own evolution. Like, I stopped giving people my mindset. That was so huge for me, not to feel so much angst all the time. We've all said, why did they do that? Why did they say that? I would never do that. No, you would never do that. And you're a unique individual that has your own life lessons, your own DNA. Nobody has gone through your exact life. And even if they did, there's no guarantee they're going to say or do exactly what you would do at the same exact time that you would do it. So the minute that you can stop expecting people to act like you would act, you can actually be at peace with people, and you have there's no expectation. So all of this evolution, as far as your question is, my mental health and wellness is the biggest barrier for me to have physical health and wellness. Now, from here, now that I have a good wrap around humanity, I think my position in life, at least during this chapter, not getting upset with people, being very smart about who I invite into my inner circles, and just creating this really, as best as possible, calm environment of things that I can control. Now that that's sound, hopefully I can move into other aspects of better well-being for me physically and making sure that, you know, your body's your temple kind of thing. But I know with my DNA and my genes, my brain was the most important thing I had to reprogram and make sure that I stayed in a very, I guess, to the best of my ability, just normal and not being so upset. Or I'm also Sicilian. There's a lot of passion and like anger in Sicilians. Like a lot of things are based around loyalty and all these expectations. Now I say, if you want loyalty, get a dog. There's your loyalty. But when it comes to people, you can't expect someone to be loyal to you when they have their own set of demands and pressures and needs. So there's loyalty scheme is not really real anymore because other people have different needs than you can probably provide. Doesn't mean they're not loyal. As long as they were loyal during the time when you had them, great. But if they need to go on and progress, or they need to go on and learn their life lessons, you can't be so angry at them or mad at them because you did all these things for them. That's great. You did all these things for them because that's what you wanted to do, not because you wanted to control them or you wanted them to just be at your beck and call. That's not reality.
Share this with me. What you're talking to me about today on this podcast is really intriguing, because you're talking about the way you live your life is almost through a conscious leadership approach. So it's not reactive. It's not reacting to things. It's being proactive and making those conscious decisions to be that way of being that you've been talking about, which is very difficult for many leaders to do. So as you think about moving into the next 10 years of your life, and obviously doing the things that you love doing, what are you already aware of where you might need to consciously change the way that you lead both yourself and your business empire?
So I get bombarded with people needing help all the time. I'm consciously aware of that. I want to help everybody, but I have to also look at, I think I've met every type of person you can possibly think of in my career and in my life. So I need to take all of those people that I've met and remember each and every one of them. So when they come back to me in different forms with different clothes on and different names, I need to immediately be like, this is just like so-and-so from 2004. I can't help them. I have to say no. This is just like so-and-so from 2013. I can't help them. I have to say no. That's going to be me until I die. Like, I need to be accessible. I need to provide service for people. Like, that's just what I need to do. I know I need to do that. I know that's where I feel my reward. I know when all the stuff that I've been through, and I share that stuff on great podcasts like yours, and people reach out to me and say, that was great. That really helped me get through something. It could just be rationalizing and justification of me going through those things, but at least it gives me a sense of purpose as to why I went through those things for my own personal growth and evolution. But also, if I can help somebody get through a moment that's tough for them and they don't know where to go, they don't even know how to address it, they don't know any type of solution, but if they know somebody else went through it, there's a little bit of a bond that's formed, and I think it gives people hope and strength to figure it out. So I always need to be not myself and say no to certain people, not because I don't want to be kind and generous, but because I know it's going to get me in harm's way, because it already did that, been there, done that.
That's interesting, because I was thinking in my own mind, then how do you make those judgments where you are right now compared to where you were when you couldn't help them the first time, to actually really know that you still can't help them? That's what I'm curious about.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. And sometimes, you know, I've thrown a lot of fish back in the sea because I also knew that they weren't ready for, like, how do I explain it? I'm malleable. That's why I was a great baseball player. Coaches loved me because I listen. I take direction. I learn. If I mess up, I'm like, yeah, I messed up. I got to fix that. But if people that come into my life that need help, I'm not saying I'm people's savior. I just been through a lot, so I have experiences. But if they need help, but they're still so arrogant about it, no, you're not ready. You're not ready for anything. You need to go out and go put your hand on the stove a couple more times until it really, really stings you and you wake up. But until then, I've sent people away that have come back with their tail between their legs and saying, hey, you know, I really need help. Like, guns on the table. Like, when I can sense that, yeah. I mean, I do think people can change. I think you're also inherently who you are. I think when you're blessed with money, you can become 10 times more of an amazing person. Or if you're a crappy person, you're going to become 10 times more of a crappy person. Like there are things that emphasize who you are at the core. But I do believe if you get hit with that humble stick and fall out of the tree and hit every branch, you can reprogram yourself and be a decent human being.
A couple more questions for me, Brian, before we close. I've really enjoyed our conversation. The first is, you get towards the end of your life. We never know when that's going to be, as you've already said, and you've already sort of evaded it once. So what's your legacy going to be when we get to your funeral and people are talking about what Brian has done for the world? What do you want to be known for?
That's a great question. So I'll answer that in two parts, if you don't mind. I could leave today and feel amazing. Like what I've done, who I've met, people that say my name in rooms. Like I think most of the time it's good. Sometimes it's definitely bad, but I'm done so much more than I thought I'd ever do. I used to sell nail polish and shampoo and lotions and potions. So to go from there and to be where I'm at today, I'm good. I'm content. Legacy wise, I've always been very passionate about things like fresh water, access to clean water. A third of the population don't have that. It's a basic human right. All life depends on it. So the wealth of the world that we have across the globe, I hate that people are thirsty and people don't have access to food. That's unacceptable. So I'd love to continue my work in things like being able to provide fresh, clean drinking water for people. I get to work with a great company called Boxable for affordable housing. This all is consistent with me wanting to help people. So I think my legacy is I've helped individuals one-on-one. I've helped companies become successful. And I want to take all of that and apply it to things or technologies or opportunities to help a global community, again, have access to clean water, have access to food, and have access to shelter. And these are things that I'm already working on. So if I can really deliver on that or be a spoke on the wheel of all these great people and really deliver on that, that would be much more than I would ever have dreamed to be able to accomplish in my lifetime.
Thank you. And for those people listening to this or watching it on YouTube, if they resonate with your story about where they came from, and obviously you described where you came from as an 8-year-old and what you were doing, and they have a similar vision for the legacy they want to live from their version, what advice would you give them in terms of making that a reality?
I would say make as many mistakes as you possibly can, as early as you can. Learn from them, evolve, don't get mad at people. There's a concept I say a bunch of times. You really need 2 inner circles in your life. And I learned this way too late. Even if you grew up in an entrepreneurship household, your family inner circle and your friends and what you grew up in, that needs to be completely separated from your professional career, your entrepreneurial career. You can't, I strongly suggest not bringing any of your day or any potential deals or anything that you're working on home, because your home needs to be safe. Your home needs to be where you recharge and go back into the world and battle for the next day. So if you're sharing things at home that aren't tangible, closed results, when you come home, they're going to say, "Oh, I thought you were getting a big investment last week. Oh, I thought that deal was closing. Wasn't your company being bought out? Weren't you partnering with this?" So you're getting hit with self-doubt when you go home. You're getting hit with these people that don't understand the reality of the business world. These might be amazing teachers or maybe people in the medical career or whatever their career at home. They don't understand what it's like to go out in the jungle and maybe not come home that day. So you need to have that inner circle safe and protected for their benefit too, and yours. And then your other inner circle are people like me that you might meet on LinkedIn or professional colleagues. These are people that understand, hey, that deal's never going to close, but if it does, we're going to be so happy for you. Or, hey, let me help you get that deal closed. Or like, those are the people you can rely on and be transparent with. And, if it takes 5 years to get a deal closed, they're not going to judge you because they've all been through that. They understand the reality of building businesses or getting false promises or people saying the wire is coming for years. They're still waiting on that wire from this one customer forever. Like, you need hope. You need to have that hope because that gets you through the day. But again, if you're commingling these 2 inner circles, you're going to feel so defeated. You're going to feel so embarrassed. You're not going to have a safe place to go. And you need to learn that quick. I grew up in an entrepreneurial household, and it was still very problematic for me. So I wish I learned that in my 20s. I unfortunately learned it in my probably mid to late 30s. Like, I don't share anything with my family anymore. If they want to see something on Yahoo Finance pop up on me, I want them to say, "Hey, why don't you share that with me?" And I would say, because no, because no, I'm not going to share it with you. But I'm glad you saw it, and that's what I'm working on. So balance, right? Balance, protecting isolations on silos. Major companies have silos. There's a reason for it. They don't want certain information crossing into other information because it messes the whole business model up. So you need to think about that too. With your, whatever inner circles you have in your life, be very conscious on what you vocalize and what you share.
Thank you very much. I love the spaciousness in our conversation today, and I've also loved the calmness, even though we're on a physical room in the studio here today. So thank you for bringing that from your side. I'm sure the audience have really enjoyed listening to you today, and they would have learned something to take for themselves, and indeed their dreams that they're trying to move towards as well. So Brian, thanks again for coming on the show today.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the opportunity very much.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Confessions of a Successful Leader. You can access all previous episodes of the show at confessionsofaSuccessfulLeader.com. If you are interested in finding out more about conscious leadership and self-coaching, just type in Andrew Tallents into LinkedIn or your favorite browser, and you'll find my contact details and all the content that you need. Until next time, don't forget to stay present, curious, and above all, conscious.